Hello, I'm Frank Stanisci of a Candid Frank Alive, where you'll find us airing our views here on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Let's try this again. Aaron William Freeland is with me today. Is this thing working?
Hey, Frank. Sorry, you sounded a little bit like Count Floyd from Monster Chiller Horror Theater there for a second.
I was trying to do that, and I thought it might work, but it didn't work well. So I went back to my natural fake voice.
Excellent.
Okay, so we didn't have the show yesterday. A little faux pas going on. It's all good. We're back, and everything's going fine. Just if I could get my computer to cooperate with me, you know what happens when you can't install Windows 11. You know, stuff happens that you don't really like. But I will survive. I will, I think. Unfortunately, like you said in your little note to me introducing the clips, the news that you wanted to share, a lot of things come in threes. So we had 3 deaths of people really across the board, if you will. Start with Vin Scully. We love sports. At 94, he passed away. He did the play-by-play for the Brooklyn Dodgers when they were in Brooklyn. Well, I guess the Brooklyn Dodgers belong in Brooklyn. They later became the LA Dodgers, and he moved to LA with them.
Yeah, and it was a long career that he had with them. I know that he remained with the Dodgers all the way up until he retired in 2016. So it's been a while since he's been out of baseball, gone but never forgotten.
Yeah, a lot of great things.
Yeah, and the inspiration for a lot of people to want to try to get into sports and do that sort of thing. So
yeah, and he brought back memories to me of Tom Cheek, the late Tom Cheek, and what Vin Scully did was he let the game talk to us. He didn't, he wasn't all over. He didn't have a problem with having a dead mic. He didn't have a problem with there being silence. He let the game speak. And I think a guy who learned that really well was Tom Cheek when the Toronto Blue Jays won that World Series again. And of course, Joe Carter got that touchdown, the home run to end the game. Football always on the brain. And he said, "Touch them all, Joe." That's all he said. But that, just thinking about it and thinking about Vin Scully and the great moments that he's provided, of which I meant, the Kirk Gibson thing. It really, I could hear Tom Cheek's voice in my head and the chills that sent up my spine.
he was definitely a fantastic play caller, but he had this unique ability to tell a story and tell the story of the game at the same time, so that you never actually missed anything. And it's a very rare ability amongst broadcasters to be able to do that. So
Totally. One of the great films, Disney's always been a very popular brand, but one of the movies that put them into a new, I guess you could say, a new generation, and then really hit that generation with movies. One of the first movies of that generation, which we talk about, Simba, Lion King. The movie that really started it all was The Little Mermaid, and the voice of The Little Mermaid passed away. Aaron, tell us about her.
So Pat Carroll passed away from pneumonia. She was 95 years old when she passed away at her Cape Cod, Massachusetts home. Now, Pat, for those of you who aren't familiar with Pat's work, she had this incredible sense of comedic timing, which made her a great second banana to people like Mickey Rooney and Steve Allen and Charlie Weaver. She was on a lot of great shows. Her performances on Caesar's Variety Hour got her an Emmy in 1957. And, one of those, she had this great belly laugh and this great way of projecting emotion through her voice, which made her absolutely perfect for Ursula in The Little Mermaid. So unfortunately, she did pass. It's another one of those voices that I know we'd like to say gone too soon, but she did have an absolutely fantastic run. So
Yeah. And you talk about that show, and it was a show that had Imogen Coca as well. And then there weren't many other women like Lucille Ball, Betty White. We know them all so well because the list was so short, and the list from that time gets shorter again as does happen. We get older, and at 95, she lived a pretty good life. Another woman that was legendary, and I would dare to say as legendary as either of the two we just mentioned, and her name is Nichelle Nichols. Now, you may remember her. I think everybody remembers Lieutenant Uhura. She was in Star Trek, and she was a black person in a TV show like that with a kind of a lead role, but mostly a woman, which was really rare. And the way she acted and the position she played didn't say she was black, and that's what made her position in the program so important. No stereotyping with her.
no, and she was a black female in a position of power. She was head of communications on the bridge of the USS Enterprise for its entire run. Also, the first interracial kiss between her and William Shatner.
Captain Quirk.
Yep. So
because he had
it's funny they filmed the original kiss, and the NBC executives wanted to change it up and sort of try to take the kiss out of it, but Shatner and Nichols purposely screwed up every single additional take after the kiss, so the kiss was the only usable take, and they had to use it. So that's a little bit of film lore there from her 1994 book. So,
let's be clear. Star Trek was a real trend-setting. I think really a not just a headstone, but a stone marker in life. It was the beginning of viewers, I think, anyway, in my opinion, where viewers told the industry what they wanted to watch. They wanted to take Star Trek away, and the fans of Star Trek said no way, and they clamored loud enough at a time when nobody realized that viewers actually had any say in anything, that they were just, take what you want. And I mean, we took whatever they told us. I mean, what else would explain that thing at night that would go? I love the fact that the fans brought that back.
It was absolutely fantastic. The letter writing campaigns that they organized to try to keep the show on the air, including sending several hundred tons worth of fan mail to Paramount at the time, is what kept it going. I mean, she danced with Sammy Davis Jr. in Porgy and Bess. She was in James Garner's Mr. Budwing. She inspired people like Sally Ride and Ellison Onizuka to apply to NASA. That's how inspirational and important she was. Not only that, she caught the attention of Martin Luther King Jr., who praised her as a pioneer in the industry. So she'll be greatly missed.
And she refused to take parts that she felt didn't express her in a way that she felt she should. So she stood for something and stood behind it and wasn't deterred to follow it through. So an admirable woman in a great situation. And I'm one of those people that wouldn't have known Star Trek even existed, Aaron, because I didn't watch it the first year. I watched it after the hullabaloo about bringing it back.
Most people actually didn't catch it in its initial run. They caught it in syndication. So at least in that respect, they were successful. And now it spawned, the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Discovery, all that sort of stuff. It's thanks to work like her and the work of the fans that it continued.
But will they admit it, Aaron? That's what I'm asking.
No. Everybody saw it its first run, right? Link, link.
350,000 people at Skydome when the Blue Jays won the World Series both years. CFL, Ottawa 23, Toronto 19. Wow. Did Ottawa give Toronto a licking? And boy, that licking kept ticking.
I got to be honest with you. That was, I think, the most emotionally uninvested in an Argonauts game I've been in a long time.
Oh my!
I sat down and just did not care. The offense didn't look like they were in it. The defense was decent, but they just looked like they didn't care. And as a result, as a fan sitting in the stands, I didn't care.
The defense at the end of the first half, allowing that touchdown, what, with 46, 41 seconds left in the half.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But listen, let's not Red Black fans, your team did great. They deserved the victory. They made Toronto look like they didn't care. I don't think Toronto didn't care. I just don't think Toronto had a game plan that would have led to success. They had difficulty. I think that was a loss as much about the players and their lack of willingness to be out, to not invoke lots of flags and lots of penalties. But it also might have been a game plan that just wasn't right. Their defense wasn't working against the offense that Evans put out there. Good for the Red Blacks. They won their first game. They're 1-6 now.
I was going to say, and again, it's one of those things where we had to give them their first win, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not Toronto? The best game of the weekend by many, on an assumption because of the success both the teams Calgary and Winnipeg had, this was going to be another one of those games. Will this be the team that beats Winnipeg? Answer: no.
No, I mean, the Stampeders did put up a good fight. They were wearing their retro jerseys, and I don't know if that played into it at all, but, Collaros completed 22 of 30 passes for 270 yards and threw a pair of touchdown passes to Dalton Schoen. Unless you shut those guys down, you're not going to have a lot of success. So, there's a reason why the Bombers are 8-0 and the Stampeders are 4-2.
BC Saskatchewan trashed the Riders 32-17.
Yeah, this is, I think, the best start that the Lions have had in the past 15 years. But, it took them a while. I mean, they were down 17-4 in the second quarter, but managed to get themselves to 5-1 while dropping the Riders to 4-4. There's going to be an awful lot of 2-game weeks coming up in the future, isn't there, Frank? I'm just looking at some of this here, and some teams have played 6 games, others have played 8.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. So the emergency ward at Iverwin Stadium, Tim Hortons Field, the emergency room had a lot of patients released. Hamilton won a football game at home. It's been a while.
I think they had to charge the golf cart twice just to keep getting players off the field.
That's because they're using it on the fans who were hoping this was the week they were going to win a game. I mean, good for Hamilton. They were never as bad as their record indicated. They were always better than that. They had a quarterback, I think, that had the weight of the world on him. And I think the best thing that happened was they took the pressure off him and they brought in the ex-Montreal Alouette to cause problems for the present-day Alouettes.
An industry twist of fate. Yeah, players always seem to play better when they play their old teams, right? So
it's a little motivation, Aaron. It's just like when I leave this show and no, never mind. The NLL. Tell us about Brett Freeland.
So yeah, this is a little bit interesting. I was actually kind of surprised to see this, and at the same time, a little bit gratified. Brett Freeland is the new commissioner of the National Lacrosse League. He's also president of NASCAR's Stewart-Haas Racing and former Brown University lacrosse captain. So, it's a bit of a surprise, but, he's known success at every turn of his career, from playing lax at a championship level at Brown to building one of the most successful properties in NASCAR racing, Stewart-Haas Racing. So that says a lot to his background. He's got a passion for almost everything that he does. It'll be interesting to see what goes on here. Freud was also a 2012 40 under 40 honoree. So we'll have to see exactly what happens here, but I'm anticipating big things. If he can do what he did for Newman Haas, then that's a good sign for the NLL.
Well, they have, the NLL, the board or whoever picks the commissioner, they've done a great job of looking outside of the game and not not forcing themselves to look inside the game. And I think that gives one a different perspective. And I think the priority of bringing people in who are part of a successful team building process, I think that's a great idea. I have to commend the NLL. They've done a great job when it comes to bringing in commissioners, and it's not an emergency. They're bringing a commissioner in, everything's fine. They can there's no major concerns. He comes in and he can just pick up where the previous commissioner left off. By the way, I just want to warn you that if all of a sudden I slide this way, or if the internet disappears, we have a tornado watch in the neighborhood. So
I had heard about that. I'm glad to hear that you're safe so far.
So far, back downstairs in a few minutes. Major League Baseball. The Blue Jays win series over the Tigers.
This has been a good thing for them. Chapman finally got out of his rut in the Jays 5-3 win. They lost the second game 4-2, but that was a chance for Soto, Fulmer, and Jimenez to showcase their skills as the trade deadline came up. Ross Stripling had a very good outing for the Jays in their 5-3 win. And, they further made things complicated towards trade deadline day by winning their fourth game of the series 4-1. Kevin Gausman then also had an excellent showing in the start of their next series against the Rays and winning 3-1. He allowed one hit over 8 innings, and the Jays finally beat the Rays, who always seem to have our number. This made it difficult for them to add more people at the trade deadline. The Jays did pick up some folk. They picked up Whit Merrifield from the Royals. They picked up Mitch White from the Dodgers, as well as Anthony Bass and Zach Pop from the Marlins. So they picked up a couple pitchers, 3 pitchers, sorry. So that would be Mitch White, Anthony Bass, and Zach Pop. And they also picked up Whit Merrifield.
Yeah, pitchers are what they need. And they picked up Whit Merrifield, who hasn't played that well. I mean, his great seasons were a few years ago. He's a contact hitter. I guess they have a pretty good. They judge talent pretty well, but you don't win all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey Canada, a woman says she fully cooperated with alleged sex assault investigation involving World Junior hockey players. Tell us more, Aaron.
Well, the complainant in the 2018 case wanted to come forward and clear the air and say, look, this lady, Jane Doe, has fully engaged and cooperated with all the legal and formal investigations surrounding the team. Now, this is the lady who filed the $3.5 million lawsuit that Hockey Canada later settled. Hockey Canada had initially described the complaint as being not cooperative with the London police investigation, but her team is firing back, saying, actually, we did. Hockey Canada did also correct their statement, but at that point, it's the barn door is already open, the horse is already out. Why are you closing it?
Let's see what happens.
Yep.
All right, the Canucks. Michael DiPietro's agent says the Canucks dropped the ball.
Yeah, he's a little upset that they dropped the ball with his development. The problem was that they kept shuttling him back and forth on the taxi squad during one of the COVID years, and his agent. I'll give you a guess as to who it is. Put it this way: it's an agent whose players always seem to want to end up in Europe playing hockey. A gentleman by the name of Ferris said that they stunted his growth and stunted his development. I don't know if it's true or not, but
Mathieu Joseph signs with the Senators.
So this is another offseason signing for them that they wanted to nail down. He signed a 4-year deal with the Sens. This will keep him locked up for a while now. It's a 4-year extension worth $11.8 million.
Dominique Ducharme, former coach of the Montreal Canadiens, feels that he had blinders on, didn't have a clue what's going on.
Yeah, he said he felt a little bit like a mushroom and kept in the dark and shoveled crap.
Yep. Former NHL defenseman Roby Dodd joins Canadiens coaching staff as assistant.
Now, originally he was with, I believe, a team in the QMJHL, but they hired him directly to start with Martin St. Louis. So apparently he did manage to find his way off the island.
Mark Stewart ready to share his experience behind the Oilers bench.
So this is another hiring to add to Woodcroft's staff. He spent 12 years in the NHL, so he's going to be leaning on that experience to help him out with coaching.
Mangiapane, who's been a revelation ever since the World Championship of a couple of years ago, signs a contract. Ooh, he's making some money, Aaron.
Yeah, he's going to be making 17.4 mil over the next 3 years. Essentially, it's a bridge deal for the first part of his free agency. They're trying to get him to a point where the salary cap is going to jump, and it's expected to jump by about $10 million come 2025, 2026.
NFL, Deshaun Watson suspended for 6 games, loses less than $400,000 in salary. From the way they were talking about how they engineered that contract, I didn't think he'd lose any money. I'm surprised that he lost any at all.
Well, there were a lot of people that are upset after the 24 different civil cases that he only ended up getting 6 games, which is less than a slap on the wrist. It's a negligible amount for him. So it's upsetting a few people.
Yeah, so we'll give him less publicity. Federal government announces an $18 million HIV testing in Montreal AIDS conference.
Yeah, now we mentioned this a couple. We were specifically at the new promises that the government was going to be making toward. The government finally did decide to pull the trigger on that, so they're going to be adding $17.9 million to expand HIV testing. So that's good news.
So May's readying the green leadership bid.
Yep. She asked Mike Morris to consider running, and made sure that she wasn't going to be stepping on any toes if he did decide to run. So as it turns out, I don't believe he is going to be running. So she'll have a chance to submit her application by next Friday, which is the deadline. So that's August 12th. And there you go.
Here in Canada, our economy avoids contraction in May.
Yeah, this is a good thing. I know down in the States, they've seen 2 consecutive quarters of declining returns and shrinking, but the Canadian economy basically stayed flat in May. Growth slowed down a little bit due to supply constraints and rising interest rates, but the current cycle of interest rate increases is expected to continue into the fall to help that. Real GDP was unchanged in May after a 0.3% expansion in April.
Am I reading this right? Gas showdown in Saskatchewan to cut price below $1 a liter?
Yeah, this is one of those gas wars. We've seen it happen in Ontario, but not as much lately. But the Esso Gas Plus bars in Blaine Lake, Saskatchewan, it's a town of about 500. They're having a bit of a price war.
Yeah, wow. Noah's Ark Attractions sued insurance company for $1 million due to what, Aaron?
Well, so basically what happened is this. In 2017, 2018, they got a lot of rain. Parts of the exhibit area were damaged, and the insurance company decided they weren't going to pay for the repairs to an access road. So it just sounds funny, though, doesn't it?
It does. We'll leave it there. Thanks for this, Aaron William Freeland.
Not a problem, Frank. Appreciate it.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thanks for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.